Okay. Chapter 4, verse 36. Apichedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrittamaha sarvam jnanaplavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. So basically, any person, whatever background, whatever culture, if they become situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, that means that if they gain transcendental knowledge, then they'll be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. But proper understanding of one's constitutional position in relation to Krishna is so nice that it can at once lift one from the struggle for existence which goes on in the ocean of nescience. Proper understanding of one's constitutional position in relation to Krishna. What is our constitutional position? That we are eternal servants of Krishna. Prabhupada is saying proper understanding of that, which means that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, we don't belong to this material world, we are not here to enjoy. We are here to serve Krishna with love. Proper understanding. So one who can understand this position properly, that proper understanding is so nice because we suddenly feel related to Krishna. We feel, Krishna, we see Krishna as our friend. We see Krishna protecting us. We see Krishna taking care of us. So it's so nice that it can at once lift one from the struggle of existence, struggle for existence. Yeah. Because Krishna is there with us, so we don't have to worry about the struggle for existence. This material world is sometimes regarded as an ocean of nescience. Nescience means ignorance. Ocean of ignorance, and sometimes as a blazing forest. One is an ocean, other is blazing forest. In the ocean, however expert a swimmer one may be, the struggle um, for existence is very severe. 1 second. Somebody wants the link. Okay. In the ocean, however expert a swimmer one may be, the struggle for existence is very severe. Yeah, because it is different to swim in a swimming pool versus swimming in a river versus swimming in an ocean. Right? It's the most difficult, and however expert a swimmer may be, struggle is very severe for multiple reasons. Because one is it is so vast. There is no end to the ocean, literally, right? And it's more powerful than river. So multiple reasons. Struggling in oceans, trying to swim in ocean is very difficult even for the best swimmers. If someone comes forward and lifts the struggling swimmer from the ocean, he is the greatest savior. So one might be struggling by himself, but then when somebody else comes and lifts him up, then he is the greatest savior. Perfect knowledge received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the path of liberation. Perfect knowledge. What is this perfect knowledge? This perfect knowledge is called Sambandha Gnan. Sambandha Gnan is knowledge about our relationship with Krishna. That is perfect knowledge. Along with that, Abhideya and then Prayojana. Abhideya is the process of devotional service, and Prayojana is the goal, which is to achieve Krishna Prema. So this is perfect knowledge, the path of liberation. Liberation means practically getting out of this material world, but that is not, that liberation is achieved as a side effect of bhakti, because even without too much of endeavor, we will reach Brahmabhuta stage, which is the stage of liberation. So liberation is not so big a thing for us, but we are more interested in Krishna Prema. The boat of Krishna consciousness is very simple, but at the same time, the most sublime. Most sublime. Sublime means it doesn't belong to this material world. It's very high. Right? It is simple, but yet very high. So Transcendental knowledge is very important. That is why we are doing all these classes. We request devotees to study Prabhupada's books, etc. Because only transcendental knowledge can actually fix us firmly in devotional service. Because we will generally we have to deal with so many issues, situations in life. Even after we come into Krishna consciousness, it's not that it will suddenly come to an end. But then, when we are going through different difficulties, trials, etc., it is this knowledge that will help us to remain firm and continue in devotional service. And of course, association of devotees. Both helps, and even association devotees will also give transcendental knowledge. So it is only holding on to transcendental knowledge only we will cross over this ocean of miseries. Okay. Any questions from anybody? Okay. 4.37. Yataidhamsi samidhognir bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. One second. What is trying to join? He's struggling. Okay. As a blazing fire turns fire to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So once the fire of knowledge, it will burn all our karmic reactions, all our karma phala. So that is what Krishna is saying here. Perfect knowledge of self and super self and of their relationship is compared here into fire. So this blazing fire of transcendental knowledge of relationship with Krishna, it is like a fire because it's going to burn up all the reactions to impious activities, not only impious activities, even pious activities. So all our karmic reactions will be burnt. Why it will be burned? Because when we know that we are servants of Krishna, then we surrender to Krishna. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. So when we surrender to Krishna, then Krishna takes away all our karma phala. So, and the trigger for that is understanding our relationship with Krishna, which is compared to a fire. There are many stages of reaction. Okay. Okay, let me just briefly talk about this. You might not have heard about this. So there are 4 stages of karma phala. This comes in Nectar of Devotion. This is actually originally coming from Padma Purana. So it is called Kuta, Bija, Prarabdha and Aprarabdha. Okay, so whatever we are suffering in our current life, currently is called Prarabdha. Little in the future, but in this life itself is Kuta, Bija. Then there is Aprarabdha. Aprarabdha is suffering that is waiting for our future lives. Now our karma account is huge. It's as big as like huge mountain. So we don't have dearth of karmic reactions to enjoy or suffer. But whatever has, and this karma is considered compared to a fruit. That is why we call it karma phala. This karma phala, the reaction is compared to fruit because fruit, on a tree, not all fruits are at the same level of ripeness, right? Some will be kacha, some will be ripe, some are still in seed form, bija, like that. So similarly, our karma phala also will be at different stages of fructification, which means that they have not, there are different stages of giving their results, and those which are already ripened and we are suffering currently are is prarabdha in this life. Aprarabdha is future, and kuta is, it's just in the form of thoughts in our mind, and it will result in something later. Now, when we come to Krishna consciousness and surrender to Krishna means basically accepting a guru. When we accept a guru and at the time of initiation, basically all our future karmas get destroyed. All our prarabdha, kuta, bija, everything gets destroyed except for our prarabdha karma. Then our prarabdha karma is compared to a fan, wherein the fan is running, but you switch off. Um, you put out the switch, then the fan will start to. It will slowly stop. That means that once we start living a very uh, pious life of Krishna consciousness, engaging in devotional service activities, etc., then that prarabdha will also stop. That current life suffering will also stop, but that will take some time. That will take some time. But till then, there's a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam which says that one should accept whatever is coming in their life. As once we have surrendered to Krishna, whatever is coming in our life is Krishna's mercy, because Krishna knows that this is the way for our purification, so he will give us whatever is required. Because see, at the end of the day, all of us have to become pure of our material contaminations, pure of attachments, detachments, likes, dislikes. So all dualities, we have to get over all dualities, and we have to be fixed in devotional service irrespective of what situation we are in, right? So um, so when we surrender to Guru and we engage in devotional life and live sattvic life, engage in devotional service, then all these things will be taken care. All this karma, everything will get destroyed. But for that, the most important thing that we have to develop is tolerance. We have to tolerate every situation as Lord's mercy and peacefully patiently wait for his mercy whenever it's going to come. If at all he wants us out of that problem, he will take us out of the problem, and we just wait for that. Not like we should not be jumping up and down saying, I want to get rid of this problem, I want to get rid of this problem, because that just shows that we don't have faith in Krishna. But knowledge of the constitutional position of the living entity burns everything to ashes. Knowledge means that we become fixed in that knowledge of being servants of Krishna. When one is in complete knowledge, all reactions, both a priori and posteriori. So this a priori is prarabdha, posteriori is aprarabdha. All of them are consumed. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is stated, Ubay Vaisha Ete Tarati Amrita Sadva Sadhuni. One overcomes both the pious and impious reactions of work. So, engaging in devotional service, which is based on transcendental knowledge, will result in destruction of all our karma phala. And once all the karma phala is destroyed, then we become qualified to go back to Krishna, because only when our karma balance becomes zero can we go to the spiritual world. So once we start living a Krishna conscious life, buddhi yoga, which means that we use our intelligence in all situations to remain fixed in Krishna consciousness, then we achieve the result of getting rid of all karmic reactions and going back to Krishna. Any questions? Okay. 4.38 Nahi gnanena sadrisham pavitram ya vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. This is very nice. I'm saying nothing is as sublime, as high, and as pure as transcendental knowledge. That is such knowledge, the mature fruit of all mysticism. Mature fruit means that what is mysticism? All yoga practices. It is a mature fruit, which means that when one achieves highest perfection of yoga, then he will get this mature fruit of this knowledge. And similarly, Krishna is saying. And one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service, bhakti yoga, also enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So this knowledge will actually appear in an individual in due course of time, which means what? One is, so many times many people are illiterates or they can't read, devotees can't read, write, etc. How will they get all this knowledge about who they are? Um, mm, what is the relationship with Krishna? And there are so many things, so many aspects. Krishna gives intelligence for a surrendered devotee to come to him, right? Because it's like a route. Mm, we are somewhere on the path, and then sometime we have to take a left, sometime we have to take a right. Now, all that guidance is required. Now, what Krishna is saying here is that there, so there are two parts. There is one which is knowledge, and then there is vijnana, realized knowledge. Uh, Devotee, as he makes progress in devotional service, eventually, Lord will, from within his heart, reveal all this knowledge. Mm. So he will anyway come to this platform of knowledge, whether he is reading, not reading, etc. But if we study Shastra, then we can become more serious in Krishna consciousness and progress more, make faster progress. But even otherwise, one who doesn't read, if he sticks to the process, if he takes guidance of other devotees, etc., sticks to the process, eventually the same knowledge is revealed within him by Paramatma. That is what this is saying. When we speak of transcendental knowledge, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. So, very simple. Ignorance causes bondage, knowledge causes liberation. This knowledge is the mature fruit of devotional service. And one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. Because when we are firmly fixed in this knowledge that I am servant of Krishna, Krishna is my master, then when we have a master like Krishna, what is the need for us to lose peace of mind, or to not be happy? Because we have the best master, most powerful master. Uh, all kind of adjectives we can attribute to Krishna. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminates in Krishna consciousness. This is the last word in the Bhagavad Gita. Last word means that is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching, that one has to become Krishna conscious. And so this transcendental knowledge, which is so pure, will be revealed to the devotee from within his heart by Paramatma, so that he can be fixed in that knowledge and finally become fully Krishna conscious. 4.39 Shraddha gnanam tatparasamyatendriyaha gnanam labdva param shantim achirenadi gacchati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. So this person, faithful, first qualification, faithful. Second, he is dedicated, which means that he wants this transcendental knowledge. He wants to stick to the transcendental knowledge, live life according to that, etc. And for that, one qualification or one criteria is that he has to subdue his senses. Subdue means for us in Bhakti Yoga, not artificially. By engaging ourselves in devotional service, we automatically subdue our senses. Then we achieve such knowledge. So we wanted that knowledge, so we were dedicated to get that knowledge, and by subduing our senses, by engaging ourselves in devotion, we achieve that knowledge, and having achieved it, quickly attain the supreme spiritual peace. Very quickly we attain. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness he can attain perfection, highest perfection. This is also called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. We read this in second chapter. One who has this faith in Krishna, and that he has faith that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness he can attain the highest perfection. He is a Shraddhalu, a person who is faithful. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. This we would have already experienced to different extents, all of us, that our material dirt has got cleansed to some extent. Over and above this, one should control the senses. Over and above this means what? Because we are not chanting all the time. If you're chanting all the time, then there's no question of artificially controlling senses or thinking about controlling senses, because senses will automatically be controlled. But because we only chant for few hours in a day, and then the rest of the day we are engaging our senses in activities, we also should try to control senses. Of course, see, our attempt to control senses is not like a materialist who thinks that he has the strength to control his senses or he's independent. We don't think that way. We think that, okay, by Lord's mercy, we can control. Lord gives his mercy, then we can control the senses. So this is Krishna conscious way of controlling senses, is to be dependent on the Lord. But we should try. It's not like we are chanting 2 hours and then the rest of the day we have just left our senses free, saying enjoy. Okay, till next day morning chanting, you enjoy. Not like that. So we also have to impose certain restraints, so that the senses mind doesn't get into wrong activities. A person who is faithful to Krishna, who controls the senses, can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. So it's very simple. Krishna consciousness is sincerity and seriousness. These are the only two qualifications which is required. One has to be sincere, one has to be serious to make progress. Then one will achieve progress. There's no doubt. 4.40. Agnaschashraddhadanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokosti na paro na sukham samshayatmanaha. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain good God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So this is important. If we have doubts about Krishna consciousness in our mind, we should get it clarified. Because if we have doubt, then we are not going to be happy. We'll be thinking, oh, am I doing? Is this correct? Is this not correct? Etc. Etc. So any doubts one has to clarify. Out of many standard and authoritative revealed scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita is the best. See, we have come to the best scripture. Persons who are almost like animals have no faith in or knowledge of standard revealed scriptures. Who are like animals, they have no faith. People say, I don't believe in all this. And they are like animals. And this is called revealed scriptures. Why revealed scriptures? Revealed scriptures means Shruti, means it has been given to us. Not that some human beings sat and wrote it. It's revealed to us. And some, even though they have knowledge of or can cite passages from revealed scriptures, have actually no faith in this word. So parrot-like chanting of any Shastra is of no use. Many people say, I know all the verses in Bhagavad Gita, I know Vishnu Sahasranama, I know this, I know that. Simply by arting without understanding or having complete faith or wanting to understand whatever they're chanting, that is useless. That is of no use. I mean, it might give some piety, but not really devotion. And even though others may have faith in scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, they do not believe in or worship the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They might know, but they don't worship. Such persons cannot have any standing in Krishna consciousness. They fall down. Out of all the above mentioned persons, those who have no faith and are always doubtful make no progress at all. So there are different grades of people. One is completely like animal-like, and then some have some knowledge but no faith, and some have faith but they don't worship. And the worst of all is one who has no faith at all and is always doubtful. Men without faith in God and his revealed word find no good in this world nor in the next. For them there is no happiness whatsoever. One should therefore follow the principles of revealed scriptures with faith and thereby be raised to the platform of knowledge. Only this knowledge will help one become promoted to the transcendental platform of spiritual understanding. So if we have faith in the scriptures, then we will accept that knowledge and live according to that knowledge. In other words, doubtful persons who have no status whatsoever in spiritual emancipation. One should therefore follow in the footsteps of great acharyas who are in the disciplic succession and thereby attain success. So very simple. Acharyas have given us this knowledge, so stick to it, follow it sincerely, seriously, and we achieve success. And if there are doubts have to be cleared. Which is why when we are hearing, we should not hear from anybody and everybody. First of all, we should know which parampara that it has to be authentic paramparas. Even in authentic paramparas, we should know the individual, whether he is simply speaking or he is also trying to live what he is speaking. If somebody is simply speaking but actually not trying to live that way, then again it's of no use, because those words will not have the required power, spiritual strength. Only if one is sincerely trying to practice, then he can preach. Then preaching will have some effect. Otherwise, it will just be like, okay, I mean, it's better than some mundane gossip or this one, but it will not have effect. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you preach what you are practicing. So generally, when we are preaching, we also try to say only those things that we are practicing. Of course, I mean, when we are reading purport, it is not like we are choosing some statement and only speaking about that. We are reading the whole purport because we are trying to understand. But it might not be that all the statements are being followed. But when we are giving a class, then we choose those statements or those um, subjects which we are also following, or at least we are trying to follow sincerely. We don't generally talk about things which we are not following, and trying to put ourselves in a very elevated position so that others will feel that, oh, this person is well read or whatever. No, that is of no use. Unless we are practicing, we should not actively preach. But when we are discussing, some topic comes and some things have to be mentioned about a topic, it has to be mentioned, because irrespective whether we are following it or not, as general information for everybody. We should not withhold information just because we are not practicing. But this is important. So when we are hearing, we should also understand the standing of the person who is preaching, and then hear. Because even in ISKCON, there are so many preachers. We'll get lost, because I mean, it's a huge ocean now, and yeah, you have to be careful. 4.41 Yoga Sanyasta Karmanam Nana Sanchinna Samshayam Atmavantam Na Karmani Nipadnanti Dhananjaya. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in self. See, so simple. If you are doing devotional service, we have given up the fruits of our actions. Renouncing meaning we are not attached, and we try to use as much as possible in Krishna's service. Whose doubts have been destroyed is already situated in self, which means that we've already reached that Brahmabhuta stage. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work. So, if we work like this, then we are not bound by the reactions of work. So, it's so easy that way. One who follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita as it is imparted by the Lord, the personality of God himself, becomes free from all doubts by the grace of transcendental knowledge. He, as a part and parcel of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, is already established in self-knowledge. And as such, he is undoubtedly above bondage to action. So he is become liberated. This is Brahmabhuta. So it's very simple. We have to just engage devotional service, not be attached to fruits of action. Then all our doubts are destroyed. Then we stick to that process and we make progress. Simple. 4.42 Tasmad Agnana Sambhutam Hritstam Gnanasinatmanaha Chitvainam Samshayam Yogam Atishto Bharata. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Krishna is saying, because doubts arise only because of ignorance. Arjuna had ignorance That is why he said, why should I fight? This is not good, etc., etc. So Krishna is saying, slash it by the weapon of knowledge. Don't become emotional. This is the whole point here, right? Because mostly in life, people become emotional in situations, but they don't base their actions on knowledge. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, saying, base it on knowledge, then you will be armed with yoga. Yoga means connection with the Lord. Once we have knowledge, then we know that we are connected to the Lord. Then he's saying, stand up and fight. Because once you get that knowledge, saying that you are part and parcel of Krishna, that you don't belong to this material world, that knowledge will help you to understand that you have to do your duty. And then we stand up and fight. We don't run away from our situations. This is very important. Yoga system instructed in this chapter is called Sanatana Yoga, or eternal activities performed by the living entity. This yoga has two divisions of sacrificial actions. One is called sacrifice of one's material possessions, and the other is called knowledge of self, which is pure spiritual activity. If sacrifice of one's material possessions is not doubtful for spiritual realization, then sacrifice becomes material. So this is very important. So if so many people do a lot of charity, that is just punya. That is just material punya. But if you sacrifice for Krishna, then it is not punya. Then it is transcended the three modes. So we have to do everything in connection with Krishna. But one who performs such sacrifices without a spiritual objective or in devotional service one who performs with the spiritual objective makes a perfect sacrifice. When we come to spiritual activities, we find that these are also divided into two, namely understanding of oneself and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, meaning knowing myself as Atma and Bhagavan. One who follows the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. For him, there is no difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge of the self as part and parcel of the Lord. And such understanding is beneficial for such a person, can easily understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. Because Lord doesn't belong to this material world, he's transcendental. So one who understands that he's part and parcel of the supreme whole, he can very easily understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. Because the Lord is transcendental, so all his activities are transcendental. So what is the difficulty to understand? It's very easy. In the beginning of this chapter, the transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord himself. One who does not understand the instructions of Gita is faithless and is to be considered to be misusing the fragmental independence awarded to him by the Lord. So we all have fragmental independence. If we misuse, then we are stuck in the material world. If we make proper use of it, then we will try to use that to understand the instructions of Gita and we will go to Krishna. In spite of such instructions, one who does not understand the real nature of the Lord as eternal, blissful, and all-knowing, the Chidananda, is certainly fool number one. Ignorance can be removed by gradual acceptance of the principles of Krishna consciousness. Why gradual? Because if we try to run too fast, we might skip. We might fall, stumble and fall. But it also doesn't say that we have to become very slow and say no, it's going to take me a few years. No, not okay. Yeah, so Krishna consciousness is awakened by different types of sacrifices to demigods, sacrifice to Brahman, sacrifice in celibacy, study of Vedas, participating in Varnashrama. So these were the different ways by which one can these are the different types of sacrifices one can be engaged in. By these, Krishna consciousness is awakened to some different extent. All of these are known as sacrifice, and all of them are based on regulated action. But within all these activities, the important factor is self-realization, because all these activities can also be done without aiming for self-realization, which means just normal punya. One who seeks that objective is the real student of Bhagavad Gita. But one who doubts the authority of Krishna falls back. One is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any scripture under a bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. A bona fide spiritual master is in the disciplic succession from time eternal, and he does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the Sun God, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita itself, and beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the Supreme Person and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of Bhagavad Gita. So if we simply know that Krishna is transcendental, and we try to understand, get knowledge about Krishna, Krishna's activities, Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, etc., then we are already transcendental. We are a liberated person. So Bhagavad Gita is so powerful that simply by trying to understand Bhagavad Gita, we become liberated. And Lord's pastimes, which is why one should read Bhagavatam also, because simply by reading Krishna's transcendental pastimes, we become transcendental to this material world. We become qualified to achieve, to go back to Krishna. So simply if we read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, our life is perfect. Okay, so with this we conclude chapter 4. If anybody has any questions, I can try to clarify. Hope everybody is reading. Please read. The idea of these reading sessions is to support your own daily reading, so that you can also continue to read side by side. Okay, no questions from anybody? Yes, Gaurav Prabhu.
Prabhu, I just had one, I don't know, this small doubt about it. Is how do we, is it better that we read more pastimes of the Lord, or we try and read the Sankhya aspect of like the philosophy of soul, and which will help us progress much faster?
See, first is Bhagavad Gita is ABCD, right? First we have to read Bhagavad Gita. Once we read Bhagavad Gita, we actually understand who we are. We understand Lord. We understand Lord's opulence, Lord's position. We understand this material world. We have to understand this material world because otherwise we'll get attached to it. We have to understand that this material world is temporary. It's a reflection of reality. No, these are basics. This is basic ABCD knowledge to understand who am I, what is this material world, who is the Lord, what is my relationship. All this we will understand from Bhagavad Gita. This knowledge we have to have. Once we have this knowledge, then we understand saying that, okay, Krishna is transcendental. And because at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Now to understand what this Sarva Dharman Parityaja means, because we might have some misconceptions about this, then we go and read Bhagavatam. When we read Bhagavatam and we hear histories of great devotees, and how they lived their life, how they were Krishna conscious, in spite of all their situations, etc., etc., then we understand saying that what Sarva Dharman Parityaja means. So we understand what it is to be a devotee, how sweet is the relationship between the Lord and the devotee. That is all the pastimes in Bhagavatam. Once we understand this and we are fixed in this, which means that we are engaging in devotional service seriously, sincerely, under the guidance of Guru, etc., then we will read Chaitanya Charitamrita to understand interaction, relationship between devotees, and of course Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sublime position, right? So all these three are absolutely critical for us to make progress. But first is Bhagavad Gita, because without reading Bhagavad Gita, if we go into Bhagavatam, we can't understand many things. We will have half, incomplete understanding of Bhagavatam. So that is the reason why I started this reading session, because Bhagavad Gita has to be understood. And actually, if you see, I am not going into like lot of gory details discussion about points. Whatever is relevant for us to understand Bhagavad Gita at the initial beginning level, I'm only discussing those points, right? So that we develop that clear understanding of Bhagavad Gita. And then, of course, we should also read once alongside, right? So my input to everybody is, if you're doing 5 verses today in class, then you have 2 days to finish those 5 verses that you should read by yourself, your own homework. Then if you have doubts, you should actually come and discuss. That is the idea of this study session. But I don't know how much of that is. Definitely we are not realizing all of it, but at least I heard few devotees saying that it's helping them in their understanding of Bhagavad Gita, which is good. But alongside, one has to read. And if you finish, suppose say what will take another 6 months, 7 months to finish Bhagavad Gita, then your understanding of Bhagavad Gita is clear, then you can go into Bhagavatam. Now, before going into Bhagavatam, you can, if you have time, you can definitely read Krishna book parallelly. But Bhagavad Gita is must. We can't skip Bhagavad Gita and go to something else. Bhagavad Gita plus something else. That something else can be Krishna book initially till we finish Bhagavad Gita. Once we finish Bhagavad Gita once or twice, then we will be ready to go into Bhagavatam. Definitely, Leela will help, but we have to have strong foundational knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, we can't understand Bhagavatam very clearly.
Yeah. Okay. So because I was reading that one line there, it says, "Just with scriptural knowledge, attaining the Supreme Lord is not possible."
Yeah, but that scriptural knowledge is non-devotional knowledge. See, in Shastra, we should understand one thing. There is knowledge which is linked to devotion. There is knowledge which is not linked to devotion. As devotees, we are not interested in any knowledge which is not linked to devotion. And what is that kind of knowledge? For example, it might be about some karma kanda sacrifice, about how to go to some other planet, or I mean, there's so much of knowledge out there, right, which is not connected to Krishna. We are not interested in that knowledge. We are reading only that knowledge which is absolutely connected to Krishna, right? That knowledge is non-different. I mean, that is devotional service. That is not swadhyaya, like self-study of Vedas, and so much is there out there, right? Billions of verses. But we are interested only in Krishna conscious knowledge, so that it will increase our attachment to Krishna, so that it will fix us firmly in Krishna consciousness. That knowledge is Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
That okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anybody has any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Dandath.
Prabhu, as you said just now that Bhagavad Gita is the basics, right? So it's okay. But what about Krishna book or Bhagavatam, Prabhu? Because yeah, okay, take the example of Krishna book. It's 10th canto, right?
Yeah.
Summary actually, not complete. So
correct.
In that Krishna book also, there are some pastimes of Krishna which we common people can't understand. So
Yeah.
I mean, we can get lost. So
Yeah.
It's very difficult, Prabhu.
Yeah. So Prabhupada had a see actually this
because it's my experience. That's why I'm telling you.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a known fact.
Yeah.
That see, while Krishna book initially up to Ras Leela, everything seems to be okay. But when you come to Ras Leela and
yeah, I'm talking to you about that only. Yeah.
We can't understand. We don't bother. We just skip those. See, actually, multiple times. I mean, I've so far read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam multiple times, right? 5-10 times I might have read. And initially when I read, I didn't understand so many things. I used to just skip them. As in, I don't understand. I just move on. See, we should understand one thing, saying that whatever knowledge whatever we are reading, only to the level of our surrender, our purity, we will understand. So some things which we don't understand, we don't worry too much. We know that next time I will understand this, right? Now, why did Prabhupada give this? Didn't Prabhupada know that people are going to get lost here? Of course. But he still wanted to give that mercy of people want, and he's giving parampara explanation of that Rasa Leela. He's not just simply giving something, even if somebody doesn't understand everything about it, he will understand some things about it. So it is actually special mercy that Srila Prabhupada has given access to this 10th canto, even for people without qualification. People who would not be practicing Krishna consciousness will take Krishna book from ISKCON somewhere and they will read it. And they will get that benefit of reading, that associating with Krishna, irrespective of how much they understand. And slowly they will come to Krishna consciousness, slowly and steadily. So for us, we should understand, if we don't understand something, no problem. We just have not reached that stage of purity. So we just move on. We just leave that and read the rest of the stuff. It's as simple as that. That is the whole point about making progress, right? So next time when we read, we will have better understanding because we would have become purer by the time we read it next, right? Because we would have done spiritual practice. We're getting up early in the morning. We're chanting Hare Krishna. We're doing Mangalarti. We are reading daily. We are, honoring only prasadam, etc. So we become purified, and then we will be able to understand. Slowly, steadily, we will understand. It will take time, but we will understand eventually. That is Krishna consciousness. We have to understand that. That is the essence. But we will come to that slowly. No hurry.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There's nothing else. Anybody has anything else to ask? Say. Please read. Again, my humble request to all of you, kindly read, do your daily reading, and then these sessions. That's what I was suggesting to Amit Prabhu, saying that, now that we have covered up to 4 chapters, you can still start from chapter 1, read verse, hear one of our reading session, then read the purports yourself. Then your understanding will become more concretized. It will be more sharper. And then you can pose questions on the group. The idea is that you read, you didn't understand the statement, you pose a question on the group, somebody will answer, and then you get clarity. And then, we don't, like today we were saying, we should not get stuck in doubts. So if there is a doubt, you should clarify it. And then keep moving on. Anyway, so the idea is that everybody reads Prabhupada's books. That is the original intention. Okay. Anyway, so it's already 9:20, so we'll close here, and Krishna willing, we'll meet again on Friday. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha samaveta gaura bhaktarvrinda ki jai Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhuji, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.